Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. It's the NFL offseason, so today I'm discussing the needs for the NFC teams. If you enjoy the content, make sure you do like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. With that being said, let's get to it with the NFC North, starting with the Chicago Bears. So for the Bears, I think the Bears are in a really good situation, in my opinion. They got rid of their head coach. They have a new head coach coming in, but that kind of leaves no room for excuses. They can say it's the first year for this new head coach, but he needs to prove something to us. So I'm hoping Ben Johnson can do so. So we'll see what he can do. They need to get a consistent run game going. I felt like the run game was just very hit and miss last year with way more misses than hits. So they definitely need to get that going. And they need to prioritize getting an offensive line for Caleb because he is running for his life. I think he was the most sacked quarterback last year. So definitely a huge need for this team is getting an O-line so the run game can be effective. Moving over to the Detroit Lions. So for the Lions, they kind of they got hit with the injury bug last year, and I think that was very apparent. So not saying anything out of the ordinary there, but they got hit with the injury bug. I don't think it can be worse than last year. So I think they will be better if they can stay healthier. I think it might be time to move off of Jared Goff. I just don't think, and I know it's a good story, and I know they like Jared Goff in Detroit, but in my opinion, I just don't know if Goff can get you there in the end. We noticed that in LA. He looks good, but they just can't put it together as a team completely. And I think you need a difference maker at quarterback, and I don't think Jared Goff is that guy, unfortunately. I think they have new coordinators, and they kind of need them to work out. The two coordinators that they had were tremendous at their jobs. They found ways to win. They found the scheme that worked best for this team, but I just don't see it being as good as it used to be. It's just impossibly difficult to just plug in new coordinators and expect this team to be as good as they used to be. So we'll see about the Lions, but I think they need to keep it fast and risky. They like going for it on fourth down. Dan Campbell, he's a bite your kneecap kind of guy. So we'll see what this team's got this upcoming season. Moving over to the Green Bay Packers, I think they need to improve their D-line. It's a huge need for this team. They need to be getting after the quarterback, and I just did not see that from them last season, so I am hoping that we can see that from them this season. I think they need bigger impact wide receivers. I know they're trying to trade for DK Metcalf. That's at least what the rumor that we've been hearing. I'm not sure if they have enough to trade for DK, in my opinion, because if it's me, if I'm Seattle, it's at least a first and maybe a second for DK. And that might be asking for a lot, but DK is a difference maker. He's a huge body, and he always draws the number one corner on any team. So, yeah, maybe trade for DK. Maybe this is another location that Tez Johnson can go to, or I'm blanking on his name, the wide receiver out of Ohio State. But, yeah, they definitely need more impactful wide receivers. I do think Jordan Love did have a sophomore slump last year. I don't expect him to be that bad again this year, but we'll see. He just needs to play better. He needs to be the franchise quarterback that this team needs. He needs to be the catalyst and the reason that this team is winning games and not be a liability like I felt like he was last year. Moving over to the Minnesota Vikings. So with the Vikings, whatever you do not keep Sam Darnold. In my opinion, he was good for what you guys needed from him. In my opinion, he's still a game manager. He still just does not get you over the line. He can basically get you to the line, but will never cross that line, in my opinion. You have JJ, and I think JJ is going to be healthy going into the season. Stick with JJ, in my opinion. I think JJ just has way more upside, and we haven't seen a ton from JJ, so I'm hoping we do see just a huge improvement from this team with JJ, which improving on what you had last year sounds like going with at least the NFC Championship game, if not the Super Bowl to me. I think this offense needs to improve in big games. They kind of just fizzle out a lot, and I'm not sure if that's the coaching, the coordinators, or what, but they definitely need to have a better game plan going into these big games, and mainly playoff games, mainly against teams that will be making the playoffs. They just need to be playing better in those games for me. I think their secondary definitely needs a lot of work. I feel like they kind of give up too many passes, too many big passing plays, and I know that also goes into the just the big games. They need to play better in those big games. So hopefully they can do so going into the next season. Moving over to the NFC East, we have the Dallas Cowboys. So for the Cowboys, I'll be honest, this team's not close. They have some good pieces, but I don't think Schottenheimer is great, even just as an offensive coordinator. We had him in Seattle. He was hit and miss, more miss than hit, in my opinion. He's just very predictable, and I just don't think this team is very close. Like I said, they have pieces. They have CD. They have Micah. But I just don't see this team doing much else. And I think because Dak was injured at the tail end of the season last year, if he comes back healthy, it's going to be the Dak and CD show, and they have to carry. They definitely need a good draft. If they can get a running back, I know Ashton Genty is kind of rumored to go to this team, which if he's available, cool, take him. But I don't know. I'm not sold on the Cowboys, and I'm not going to pretend that I am. This team's one of those teams that definitely needs a rebuild, but the Cowboys will never do that. They will never rebuild because Jerry Jones is who he is. Moving over to the New York Giants. So I think this team needs Shador. If you cannot get Shador, do not go get Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is not the answer. No matter what situation you're in, Aaron Rodgers is not the answer. I think Aaron Rodgers is washed. He will not help you. He might be able to get you to win a couple games, but I don't think this team is close, and I think Aaron Rodgers is a culture leech, in my opinion. He kind of just, whatever culture you have, he's just going to suck the life out of it. So I would not have Aaron Rodgers at all on any team, in my opinion. I think they have pieces. They just need to get a head coach that can get them there. Yeah, I just don't think Daboll is the guy. I think he's a great coordinator for sure. Offense. I believe he's a offensive-minded coordinator, but I just don't see it. I don't see him being the head coach that gets this team over that line, gets them there. So they need to have that conversation sooner rather than later. And I think this is probably a make it or break it year for him. So we will see. I think their defense definitely needs to stay good, though. Their defense it was good last year. Their defensive line gets pressure. I like Thibodeau, even though he's kind of cocky or whatever. But I like what this defense does. They just need to make sure that stays with this new scheme that they are going to be running. Moving over to the Philadelphia Eagles, do not get complacent. You guys won the Super Bowl. Congratulations. Do not suffer a Super Bowl hangover. Do not get over your britches, is what I'm trying to say. Don't stop what you were doing last year. Continue to have that chip on your shoulder, regardless of what anybody says, and do exactly what you've been doing and do it well. I think they need to keep their great young players. I've heard rumors that they want to trade some of their defensive line. Do not do so. Your defensive line, they're young. Keep them playing together and keep drafting well. Honestly, Philadelphia in a great shape, and I think this team does well when they do have that chip on their shoulder. Like, they're thinking about the Chiefs, and they want to do what the Chiefs didn't do, which is a three-peat. So let's see what this Eagles team has coming into this next season. And moving over to the Washington Commanders, we do need to improve the run game scheme. I think they had some decent running backs last year, but I think they just needed more out of them. So in my opinion, I would think about drafting somebody young, maybe having them be the second string back so they can learn. I believe Brian Robinson is the starter. Don't quote me on that. I forgot to look that one up, but I think Jaden, if he suffers a sophomore slump, it will be extremely disappointing for this team. But I'm hoping he doesn't do so. I like Jaden. I'm hoping to see a lot more from this team going into the next season. I know they just signed Debo, so we'll see what they can do offensively. This defense needs to get a little bit younger, though. I'm seeing a lot of older veterans on their defense, and they're kind of just slow. So if they can draft well, I think this team is going to be really, really dangerous going into the next season. And moving over to the AFC South, we do have the Atlanta Falcons. So Michael Penix, I think it's his time to shine. Let him do so. I think Michael Penix is a great athlete, in my opinion, and I think he is going to be very good for this team. I think you need to get Bijan involved more, especially in the pass game. I I did talk crap on Bijan before. I retract that. He is a great athlete, a great running back. Just get him involved more. Anytime you can get a tremendous athlete like Bijan the ball, do so. They need to draft a D line as soon as possible. I think they were 31st in sacks last year. That is not a recipe for success for this team. They need a D line. They need this defense to play well. Moving over to the Carolina Panthers, we do have the momentum. I think they definitely found a spark at the end of last season, and I loved seeing what I was seeing from this team. They just need to keep that momentum going into the next season. I think their offense needs to stay fun and stay fast. When Bryce is happy, when Bryce is playing well, and they are firing on all cylinders, this team is really good. Are they good enough to make the playoffs? I'm not sure yet. I need to see a little bit more. I need them to draft well, and I definitely need them to get an O-line for Bryce. Bryce is also one of those quarterbacks like Caleb Williams, where he is running for his life every single possession. So please get him an O-line. And moving over to the New Orleans Saints. So for the Saints, I don't think this team is close at all. I think this team needs a full reset. I'm not sure if they're prepared to do so, but they definitely need a full reset. I would definitely start to trade a lot of your older veterans and just seeing what you can get, compile a whole bunch of draft picks, and just start drafting well, getting fresh players, and just kind of starting over. This team is just not close at all, not great, and I'm kind of just disappointed with the Saints, and they kind of just keep thinking that they are close or they can put it together and make the playoffs. The goal is never to make the playoffs. The goal, it should always be a Super Bowl. So do it. Moving over to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So you got to get Baker Mayfield an O-line. I know his O-line wasn't the worst in the league last year, but I saw Baker running for his life more often than I would like. And especially Baker will always try to continue for the next play, or not for the next play. He will try to make the superhero play on every single possession. So get him an O-line so he can try to do so. I think you need to get a young wide receiver option for Baker. Chris Godwin is kind of getting injury prone, and Mike Evans, he's starting to get up there in age. So get him a young wide receiver, and we'll see what this team can do. I think their defensive scheme needs to improve, especially against those better teams. Even just the teams in their division, their defense kind of is stagnant. They let up 30 plus points to the I know they did to the Falcons, the Carolina Panthers, and the New Orleans Saints. They kind of just do whatever they want against this defense, so they need to improve 100%. And rounding out our video is the NFC West, starting with the Arizona Cardinals. So for the Cardinals, are we ready to have the conversation about Kyler? Is he the guy? I don't think he is, in my opinion. I'm not saying I don't have anything against the guy, but all I'm saying is we've given him so many chances. This is his second head coach. They started playing decently last season, but they just weren't able to do a lot more. And I'm just not sure Kyler's the guy for this team. So we'll see. But if he is, get him an O-line. I think he is running for his life way too often, which I know he is better when he is kind of off script. But I think if he can get an O-line, I think this team is going to be tremendously better. And also, if he is, I think you just need better weapons for him. I think Trey McBride is on this team, which I like him at tight end, but you need running back. James Conner, he's decent. He's kind of a power back, but you need a fast, fluid running back for this team, and I think you need wide receivers for sure. You got Marvin Harrison. He's kind of been a little lackluster in my opinion, so if you can get other pieces to help, I would definitely do so for this team. Moving over to the LA Rams. So the Rams, I think I definitely would not have kept Matthew Stafford. I would not have kept him at all. It is what it is. They kept him. I'll just leave it there. I wouldn't have kept him, but it is what it is. But since you did, you need to get a piece to complement Puka. I know they said that if they can't find a trade partner for Cooper Kupp, that they're going to maintain him, which is totally fine. In my opinion, I would keep Cooper Kupp just for your team, honestly, your team morale. He was your Super Bowl MVP a few years ago, so I would definitely keep him. But just get a piece that can complement him and Puka and see what you can do from there. You definitely need a consistent running game. I think this team is one of those, them and the 49ers are just kind of a running back by committee. Just whoever they got, they plug in. Blake Corum has kind of just been not it, in my opinion. So if they can get somebody quick, somebody who can actually run the ball well, I would definitely do so for this team. And their secondary definitely needs work. I think they were 27th in pass defense last season. They definitely need the secondary to play well, and they need the secondary to stop teams. But I hate the Rams, so I hope they do none of these things, and I hope they are the bottom of the division for sure. Moving over to the San Francisco 49ers. So if it's me, I'm not paying Brock Purdy. Not quite yet. He's got one more year on his contract. I'm seeing what he does this season, and that is how I will be basing my need to pay him, in my opinion, or what that contract is going to look like. They definitely need a consistent running game. Like I said, this team is a running back by committee. They need a consistent running game. Christian McCaffrey is very, very injury prone, and the players that they were plugging in kept getting injured. I think this team is cursed in terms of running backs. They were extremely lucky to get Christian McCaffrey to have a full calendar year with no injury when they went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So we'll see what this team's got. And I just have one more thing to say about this team, but nobody's ready to have the conversation. I think this team is in need of a rebuild. I think they are getting up there in age, and just some of the pieces that they have are not great. I think quarterback wise, I'm just not sure Purdy's the guy. Which what else can he do? I think I just need to see him be more productive without those top name players. So he doesn't have Debo. They have Ayuk, but he's coming off an injury. So we'll see what this team can do. But I think it's getting very close that this team is going to need to rebuild. And lastly, I don't know how this worked out, but it did, is my Seattle Seahawks. So for the Seahawks, I think the offensive scheme needs to improve with our new offensive coordinator. I'm very excited to see what he can do. This team needs to just play fast, play loose, and get the ball out of Geno's hand as quickly as you can, while keeping plays going down the field. And I'm not saying trade DK. I like DK, but if you can, definitely a bit of a haul for DK. If you can get a first round pick and a second round pick, that is what I would trade him for, and I would say that is the market price for DK. Like I said, he's a number one wide receiver. He draws the number one corner on every single team, or at least he should. But yeah, I like DK, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Tyler Lockett, Jake Bobo, and just a couple of the other wide receivers we have in this team. They play well together, and I think we should continue to have that. But if you're going to trade him for a lot. And I think it's time to draft a quarterback, whether it's Jalen Milroe, Dylan Gabriel, or Will Howard, any of the above. Honestly, I like all three of those guys for this team. Probably Milroe the least, but I would like to see this team draft somebody because, I don't know, I just don't think Geno is going to be the guy to get us over the line. But we will see. And guys, that is my needs for the NFC. We talked about the AFC last week. I was hoping to have my Kingdom Come Deliverance video, my review video, out this next week, but that game is so long, it's going to take me a little bit longer. However, I am going to start working on my Monster Hunter Wilds review, so that will be the next video next week. If you guys enjoyed the content, make sure you do like this video and let me know your thoughts. Let me know if I talk shit on your team. Love those in the comment section down below. I will catch you guys next time.